Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to Charging Status, the EV podcast brought to you by Crosswires and the Interface. It is Wednesday, the 30th of November, 2022, and we're looking back at everything, well, I say everything, a lot of stuff that happened since we last recorded. Alex, you filled my show notes this week, mate. What's going on?
Every month I'm always worried, is there going to be enough stuff? And there always is way too much stuff that happens. You're never too sure if there's going to be enough news to fill a show, but there's way more that we need.
There is, and it's a good thing. One thing that we sort of said pre-show, this month is very, comparatively, very little charging news. We're very vehicle-focused this month.
Yeah, even in the combustion world, there's a lot of new cars being launched. Even we were like a month away from Christmas, there seems to be a lot of cars going on sale, launching, being announced. That never seems to stop. But there's a lot of new stuff, a lot of new vehicles, and yeah.
Awesome. How are you, by the way? I should have been a bit more courteous. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. How are you doing?
Do you know what? I'm all right. We've both got coffee. It's an acceptable time of day to be podcasting. You know, it's okay. Before we get into things, two things. First of all, we have a shiny new website. Sort of. We actually now own chargingstatus.net, and if you go there, you will be taken to Charging Status's very own page on the brand new Crosswire site. And as promised, we now have a dedicated feed for this show. So if you're genuinely not interested in any other Crosswires content, if you are an Interface fanboy or fangirl exclusively, and that's the only place you want to get your media from, you can find us now in all the good podcast directories, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere that you would find your podcasts. We've tried to submit Charging Status to. A huge thanks to my Crosswires co-host and co-producer Jay for actually doing all of the work to get those submitted. Alex, how are you liking our new home?
It's great. The website looks amazing. Even how fast you guys turned it around, it works great. It's quite nice to have an actual dedicated page for the show. So yeah, it's good.
Awesome. And, we, as Jay's sat backstage or listening and watching, she does remind me that we accidentally launched earlier than planned because somebody, namely Jay, redirected the feeds 48 hours early. So we kind of had to launch the site because we started redirecting all the main feeds. So if folks do have any problems with the feeds, do let us know. podcast@chargingstatus.net. But the second thing is, we debated whether or not we're going to talk about this, didn't we, Alex?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. This is to do with Tesla, isn't it? So,
well, Tesla's leader, Elon Musk. I mean, look, this isn't really a tech podcast. We are an EV first podcast, but because we're going to be talking about Tesla, I mean, I personally think we at least need to mention the fact that there's a good chance Twitter is not going to be here by the time we next record this show, or even by the time this episode comes out. The question I wanted to ask you, Alex, from a journalist point of view and from an EV point of view, do you think it's fair that we should almost disconnect Tesla from what's going on with Musk at Twitter? They are two separate things. I mean, I know there's been some questions about his leadership at Tesla at times, but I really want to know your take on this before we start into the actual car news.
For what I've seen on Twitter and things, it is a little bit separate. I think as Elon's moved to other things apart, like from Tesla, like he was really focused on Pro, it seems to be a little bit of disconnect between him and Tesla. Maybe. I mean, he isn't the only person that runs that place. There are actual people that are there doing very good work. So it isn't just him that's doing it all. So I think it's fair to offer a little bit of disconnect between the two. There's still some great stuff that Tesla's doing at the moment. Their charger network is expanding to third-party EVs. There's new software features all the time. So yeah, I think so.
I think I would agree with that. But you know, Tesla's still doing some great. I was listening to another podcast, like ATP Accidental Tech podcast, and I think it was Casey said he's getting rid of his Tesla. He doesn't want another Tesla because Musk. I thought, That's a little bit... I don't think I agree with that one. That said, let's see what happens. He could start bringing blue badges to Teslas.
Well, one thing I did see is that Twitter on the App Store, that there's a good chance it could get pulled from the App Store.
Yes.
And other people have said he needs to watch what he's doing because there's a chance... I'm not sure what will actually happen, but the Tesla app could get pulled, for example, if it does something stupid. So I'm not really sure that could happen. It'd be a bit a shame if someone's car could have reduced functionality because of his actions elsewhere. But I don't think that will happen.
And I wouldn't support Apple pulling, or Google pulling, the Tesla app, because the offending app is Twitter.
Yeah.
Hopefully, first of all, they are they will more than likely be under separate developer IDs for a start.
They are.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so it should not happen because even if Apple bans Twitter's developer account, which has happened before with Epic's developer account got banned, even if they do that, it won't affect Tesla. And Tesla is not, unless Musk starts adding Twitter features to the Tesla app, like, get Donald Trump's Twitter profile on your Tesla, I think he'll be fine within App Store rules. So, yeah.
Okay.
However, looking at our show notes, Tesla are not exactly, I don't know, they're having a few, shall we say, recall issues.
Yeah. So when Tesla does recalls, generally they are. So I don't think the recall process in the US is extended to software-based cars like Teslas are. So these are actually recalls, but no one needs to take them anywhere.
Oh,
they're all software-based, which is interesting. So Tesla have recalled 30,000 Model X cars due to faulty airbags. So this is it seems like a sensor issue. So the airbags could deploy in certain collisions that are low speed when you wouldn't need an airbag. So Tesla are going to fix that over the air to affected vehicles. So it's more like a sensor issue, maybe.
That makes sense, yeah, because of course, that sort of deployment will be, from a technical standpoint, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing accelerometer based. I don't know what traditional cars, combustion, non-software cars would do. I'd imagine may have more of an impact.
Yeah.
But I would imagine EVs and particular things that are very software heavy will be using, as you said, a bunch of sensors. But I hadn't realized that these aren't like you need to bring it back to a service center. It's more, hey, we need to issue these 30,000 Model X's a software fix.
It's quite good that they can do that from anywhere. So it just saves some cash, or just saves people's hassle. They don't have to do it. It sits outside charging. It's sorted. So quite good.
That's pretty cool. Do you have to leave it, like an Apple Watch, do you have to leave the Tesla on its charger? Don't unplug it, leave it connected to your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there's another recall. There's a power steering issue on the Model S and Model X. Earlier this month, they recalled 40,000 units, again, software-based. It was due to... So if you're driving along the road and the car detects that you're steering off, it will steer back on the right road. So the software in the car could detect a pothole. And then, if you went over a pole, it would detect it and then think that was you steering off. So then it would put extra torque in the steering wheel and then it could cause a crash. So they fixed that issue again via software issue. So a software update, sorry.
And this is sort of the lane guidance type thing we're talking about. But yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see how a pothole could cause some confusion. Of course, potholes being definitely not a uniquely British problem, but I think it's fair to say that potholes are part of British driving life. I, as many of you know, I don't drive, but I certainly see here in Bournemouth, at least, the clear evidence that Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, BCP Council, do not spend money fixing potholes. They spend money on far different things.
So we've got a little bit more Tesla stuff. This was only a few days ago. So according to Reuters, I don't know where they got the information from, but Tesla is reported to be redesigning the Model 3 in order to cut production costs. So Model 3 has been out for a while. 2017 it was launched. And apparently, starting in Q3 2023, Tesla are going to launch a revamped version of Model 3 that's going to have some cost savings in the interior and exterior. So at the moment, Tesla are currently making a $9,500 profit on every car it makes. They aren't too sure if that is going to come down to the customer cost savings as well, but we shall see. Yeah, so when the Tesla Model 3 was announced, it was supposed to be a $35,000 car. And in pounds at least, it's 48 grand at the moment. So it's nowhere near its target price.
That's a shame because it is. Look, I've got a friend who's got a Model 3 and he loves it, but again, at that price point, it's not. I think it's fair to say that currently no Tesla is in me easily affordable space. So because that's the cheapest model at the moment, isn't it? Yeah.
There's also some other good news. The Tesla Model Y in September this year. So the stats came out a bit later. That's why we didn't cover it earlier. It was the best-selling car in Europe in September.
Oh, wow.
So in September, I think we discussed it last episode, it's usually the month that everyone registers cars. I think that's the case in Europe as well. But there was nearly 30,000 cars registered, and that's up by 227% since 2021. So they've had a massive amount of growth, and for the first time, they've sold more than the Peugeot 208 and the Dacia Sandero, which is because they're significantly cheaper. So.
Sorry, every time you say Dacia Sandero, I know exactly what. Yeah, good news, everybody. Sorry for our non-UK audience or those who maybe don't watch old Top Gear before it became rubbish. That's a James May joke. Anyway, all right, we've got so many cool cars. I do. Genuine aside. Do you think at some point that shows like Top Gear and the Grand Tour are going to really have to start focusing more on EVs and certainly for the Clarkson crew, stop being as, how should we say it, EV phobic?
Yeah, maybe. So Fifth Gear, they've already got, and I'm not sure what it's called, but they're just, Fifth Gear as we know it now is just EV going forward.
Oh, okay.
I think it's announced 2 or 3 years ago, I think they started doing it. So that show is on Channel 5 or...
Yes, it's a channel. That's kind of a whole joke. It's called when it launched. It's called Fifth Gear. I think Clarkson even made a joke. Someone said, "Oh, go up it in fifth gear," and he said, "Oh, I prefer Top Gear." Anyway,
yeah, that's just an EV show now. So I think Roy Reid is on that show from used to be on Top Gear, and some other journalists. So, yeah. So that there is already one car show that's going EV. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there that are EV only as well. But I'm not sure. Top Gear, the new one, they are covering some EVs. I think the 8th series just gone. There were some EVs on there. I think maybe as we go forward. But at the moment, part of the appeal is buying old cheap cars and doing things with them. So there isn't really any cheap EVs. So.
No, that's true. There isn't, unfortunately.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, let's keep going because we've got a lot to go through.
Yeah. So in the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles, so some US stuff now, Tesla have put a load of prototypes in a museum. So when the Model 3 was originally announced, there was like this very cool silver-looking model that had some elements on it that we've not seen before. That's in the museum. Some special edition quad bikes and prototypes from the years gone by that are in that museum, so people can go and have a look at that. It opened about 10 days ago on the 20th of November. Yeah, if you're in the area, go and have a look. There's some quite cool stuff in there. So
awesome. So yeah, if you're in the area, go and check that out. That's really cool.
So yeah, we've done the Tesla news. This was quite cool. I like the look of this car. I'm not sure if we covered it on the show yet, but Fiat have got electric version of the 500.
I don't think we have, no. So this, I know what you're referring to, and wow, this is going to be cool.
Yeah. So a Bath is like a sub-brand of Fiat, or it's part of the Stellantis group, and they've always taken Fiat 500s and Puntos, whatever, and made them more sporty. So they've done the same with the 500e. So it looks a lot more mean. The 500e looks quite cutesy and quite friendly. This one looks a bit more mean. The headlights aren't that round shape. They've got like eyebrows. But what's quite interesting is this has got a sound generator. So a Bath have always had quite a unique sound from their engine, and this is going to pump sound outside and inside. So if you're driving past, people are going to hear you driving past with the sound of the engine.
Love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's got a bit more power, a little bit less range because what Bath have done, they've just pump more power out of the electric motors, and you get a little bit less range. So it's more like a hot hatch EV, which is quite cool. The interior is like darker. It's got leather inside. I watched a few videos already. It looks quite cool. The 500e is already quite well reviewed anyway. It's quite a premium car. This would be quite cool. And the header image is this bright yellow, like neon yellow car. So it looks quite nice.
But they're definitely going with the whole concept of, electricity colours, aren't they? In some of these.
I know.
It's like, yeah.
Well, but Bath have got a new logo as well. Their logo is, there's still that scorpion, but it's now got a lightning bolt through it. So that's their new logo. So I don't know if they're going to make EVs only going forward. They haven't really said anything, but...
I mean, it does make some sense to do that, given that, we are heading towards a combustion car ban. It makes sense for these performance companies to start retooling for EV production because, the people who can afford an Abarth or, is it Alpine? BMW have a sub-brand as well.
Yes.
I don't quite understand the history of all these. I don't know if they were always sub-brands or if they were companies that got bought into the groups. I think that might be the case with Abarth. I think Abarth were a separate company originally.
Yeah, Abarth have always been a separate company that did things for Fiat. Right. And eventually, at some point, the FCA group, which is now Stellantis, bought them and brought them in-house. We'll get a bit off topic, but the BMW Alpine, that's always been a third-party company that did tuning versions of BMWs. So sort of like an unapproved, kind of approved thing. But recently, I think the last year, BMW bought them, which is quite a big purchase from what I remember. Yeah, you've got like M versions of BMWs and also got Alpine. So, yeah.
It's very interesting, but my point being, I think if you are in that space, you are probably going to target your production towards people who can afford those cars because they're expensive anyway. Well, why not make them EVs? Because the people who can afford an Abarth can afford an EV, and actually will probably be wanting an EV version. I'd imagine it is that that more wealthy client who's driving the demand there. Because from a car point of view, my friend has, I'm not sure how old it is. I really should check. She has a lovely little Fiat 500, been driven around in that so many times. It's a lovely car. It's a great small car. It's a bit of a challenge to get into if if there's a few of you, but it's a nice car. So,
Yeah, so at the moment, the 500e is about 30k on the road. And then the Abarth is going to be more than that. They haven't said how much it would be, but deliveries in the UK will be from June next year. So, quite cool.
Cool. Just out of interest, what's the base range on the 500e, just so we've got a frame of reference?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same as the Fiat 500 base. So you get, obviously, you get the darker interior with all leather and Alcantara.
Oh, no, sorry, I mean the range, as in the EV range.
Oh, sorry, yeah. It's about 140.
Okay, so again, not terrible, not brilliant, not terrible. Okay, we'll go with that. Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah, there is a range-saving mode on the Fiat version called Sherpa. So it's sort of, they've got rid of that. So
good. That's a terrible name.
They've got rid of that on the Abarth version, but yeah. There's some other stuff. This is going to be quite interesting. So in the UK, at the moment, there's no road tax if you have an EV.
Oh.
So you don't pay any road tax. But as of as of 2025, the government has said electric car drivers will be required to pay road tax from 2025. So this was on the 17th of November. The Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, has mentioned that this change will make the road tax system fairer than it is now. For a long time, owners of electric vehicles have been exempt from paying vehicle road tax, which is currently £165 a year. And the original idea back in 2010, when the first popular EVs came out, that this was going to encourage people to buy an EV because it was free.
Right.
However, there are now over 500,000 EVs on the road. And then by 2025, we're going to probably have way over 1 million. So it's now going to, people with EVs are now going to have to pay. I spoke to someone on my podcast, The Creator Spotlight, and he actually is saying, I didn't realize this. This is going to be based on how much the car costs. So at the moment, with standard cars, it's based on how much CO2 it pumps out. The more you pay more for cars that pump more CO2 out. This is now going to be a tax on how much you've paid for your car. Yeah, I'm not sure the exact details, but I'll have to get. There's not much information yet. That is what it's going to be, unfortunately.
That makes no sense whatsoever. If he's talking about making it fairer, okay, yeah, the rich pay more, fine. Although that's not necessarily. Ooh, I have thought of something there. That's not necessarily true because what about company cars? I don't know whether or not if you have a company car, who's responsible for the road tax? Is that you or is that the company? It depends on the agreement, I suppose. If folks know, if folks have company cars and may know what the road tax situation is, liability-wise, please do email us, podcast@chargingstatus.net. But it just seems, if road tax is meant to be about, emissions and meant to be about that, then why is there not just a EV rate?
Yeah.
Because they could say, it's £165 pounds now, which I think you said it is. That's probably going to end up going up, given everything our current government the cost of living crisis. I won't go into it too much. But why not say, okay, £100 a year for EVs because you are contributing less to the pollution.
Yeah.
It still encourages EV buying because you get discounted road tax, but it still adds stuff into the the treasury.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It might, to be honest, things will probably change between now and 2025 anyway.
Well, don't we have an election at some point?
I've no idea.
I think we have a general election before then, or we should do. So let's see what. And it's a Tory government, Alex. Policies are going to change by tomorrow. Never mind by 2025. Oh dear.
Yeah.
All right.
Lost track. While we're getting on sort of taxes and things, so a few days ago, the current Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has confirmed that starting in August 2023, the ULEZ zone, so that's basically a restriction on what types of vehicles you can drive into certain parts of cities.
Okay.
So I think it's currently in Bristol and Birmingham and potentially Oxford too. I'm not too sure.
Is this the cleaner zone type thing? Is that?
Yeah. So at the moment, it covers a very small-ish area, like outside the capital, like outside the congestion zone, which is like the very, very centre bit. However, in August 2023, this is going to now cover the entirety of London.
Wow.
So every single borough that's inside the M25 motorway. So the M25, for those who don't know, run around a big circle around London, and everything within it is basically, that's what it's going to cover. So says the only area that this won't be affected by this will be the M25 motorway. So the motorway itself will be okay.
That makes sense.
It's any areas within the north and south circular roads. It's essentially saying that you can only drive cars into that zone if it's a certain Euro, like 5 or 6 rating. That's a classification on what type of emissions or how much emissions it pumps out. That you can still drive diesels, but very new diesels can go in. But if you drive in with a car that's not eligible, you'll get charged £12.50 a day. So if you don't pay, you'll get fined.
They are bringing this in Bradford, up in West Yorkshire as well. That's one of the that's going to be an interesting one because aren't there some exceptions to that as well around commercial vehicles or like deliveries? I, from what I understand, it gets very complicated. But look, my view is it's a good thing because we do want to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a difficult one, really, isn't it? Because on the one hand, you want to stop pollution, you want to stop the emissions. On the other hand, what about people who can't afford to go out and buy a newer car which doesn't have this, which has less emissions? They're then getting penalised because they can't afford a newer car. Something doesn't add up there. Yeah,
I've seen some mixed opinions on Twitter, to be honest. I read all the reply, well, not all of them, but I read quite a few replies to Sadiq's tweet the other day. There was a lot of, it was very one or the other, basically. It was like, yes, this is good, no, this is bad. There was no in between. So there is a scrappage scheme. So in the UK, about 10 years ago, was it? I think there was a scrappage scheme that means you could, I can't remember the exact details, but it means you could get a new car for whatever reason. But there is going to be a scrappage scheme for this. It says they have £110 million in a pot, and people who live inside that larger zone can use that money to get a new car that's actually compliant. And it says for van drivers, they don't have to get a new vehicle. They can use that money to change their car somehow. They haven't provided much detail, but I don't know. It's like do something to the vehicle that will make it more compliant somehow.
That's interesting. Okay.
So yeah, it's there is some stats to say that it is quite a good thing. It says very recent data has shown that the ULEZ zone, as it currently is, has helped reduce the pollution levels by 44% in central London and 20% in inner London. So it isn't just something that is a money grab by the look of things. So
this is having a genuine impact, and that's awesome. Okay, having those schemes in place makes a lot of sense. And I think, as we talked about in a previous episode, as we start to see more, shall we say, short haul EV vans, commercial vehicles come into the market for, your Royal Mail, DPD, things like that, these, last mile delivery vehicles, that I think is going to help a lot too.
Oh, that reminds me, actually, I haven't done anything up for the interface on it, but I was watching a YouTube video yesterday, lunchtime, I think. So have you seen, Rivian in America, they're, electric car maker, they make trucks and things. Amazon bought some of Rivian a while ago. In the past 3 years, they've been developing this electric van. So I was watching this video from a guy who delivers for Amazon in Seattle, which is near Amazon's headquarters, actually. He has just been given a van, one of those new vans to drive. And yeah, it looks amazing. It's all electric, 150 miles of range. It's been custom designed for an Amazon delivery driver for last mile purposes, like you say. So we'll put a link to that video because it was really interesting. It was about half an hour, but he's going over all the features. Everyone kept coming up to him and saying how cool it looks, and that's a great idea.
Yeah, we need to see more of that. I mean, I remember being up in Scarborough, where our parents have a caravan, and the council up there seem to be using all of the Nissan, I don't know what we call them, the Nissan EV vans, but little ones,
yep,
which are all electric, which is, again, very cool to see. We need to see more of that.
Definitely.
So, yeah, awesome. What else have we got in vehicle news? Because I'm looking through these notes and I'm realising we have a lot.
So, the new ID Buzz Cargo. So I think we talked about the ID Buzz the last few shows. It's the Volkswagen's new electric van. So earlier in November, the very first ID Buzz Cargo has been delivered to customers in Germany. It's not quite available in this country yet. You can order it, but it's not ready yet. So VW started taking pre-orders for it 6 months ago, and two gentlemen, local entrepreneurs near their dealership, they've got their first ID Buzz Cargo, and they're going to be using it for delivering stuff. So it's great. It's a great new electric van. So
nice. I have to admit, on the commentary on that one, ID Buzz, if I could drive, I'd love to. I would love to take, go, not going to lie, I'd love to get a couple of friends, hire an ID Buzz, go on a little camping trip, and ID Buzz actually do that journey. Yeah.
There's supposed to be, so at the moment, the ID Buzz is available as a van and then a people carrier version. There is supposed to be a camper van version coming in the latter half of this decade. So that's their official thing they've said.
Okay.
Which would be great, because the camper van at the moment, there's certain things that can't run because the engine has to be running to power stuff. But if you've got electric underneath, everything could in theory run. So
yeah, inverters are getting better, I mean, the potential on that thing, because look, put solar panels on the top of it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Be awesome. So that's great. There's also some other van news. So I think we spoke about it last time, but Ford and VW have partnered up, and they're doing commercial vehicles together. So the Ford e-Transit was announced last month, or the month before. They've now announced the e-Tornio. So for a while now, Ford have done Tornio versions of their vans. So these are more posh people carrier versions. So it's now an electric. It's like a shuttle bus that you use to get between airports and things.
Yeah.
So this is all the same features and range as the van version, 230 miles of range, but it's more tailored towards carrying people. So there's seating for 6 or 7 people, I think. Seating for 6 in the back, plus 2 in the front, and then all the seats can be turned around and folded, and there's ISOFIX connectors for kids and stuff. So that's going to be great for private hire taxis and things, like shuttle companies. So
that's awesome.
There's also, this was a weird one. So as far as I understood it, VW are going to be replacing the Golf with the ID3. The ID3 was announced a few years ago. It's the same size as a Golf, but more space. For some weird reason, I'm not entirely sure why, the boss of VW has announced that there will be a Golf electric coming again. So before the ID range was announced, VW had an intermediate, like a stopgap car, the e-Golf. That was dropped. So towards 2027 or 2028, they're going to be announcing an ID Golf. He suggested. I'm not entirely sure why. It's something he said, something to do with being sort of having the older brand names.
Golf, VW Golf. I think particularly. Do you know what I could see? I could see this being. What if it's the ID Golf GTI? Because that brand name, that Golf GTI, is something somewhat iconic. I mean, particularly here in the UK, it is I would almost say the gold standard in hot hatch.
Oh yeah.
You know, I remember so many of my friends like, I want a Golf GTI. And I remember one friend bought, I kid you not, had a regular Golf and bought just the GTI letters and stuck them on the back. Like, why? But, Golf, like, when you think of VW, you don't necessarily think of some of the other model names. The name that jumps out at you is Golf, not Passat, not... See, there you go. They have other... I mean, obviously, you know, Polo, Up.
Yep.
What's...
There's a lot of new SUVs they've got as well.
Bora?
The Bora, yeah, the Bora's been dropped, yeah. A long time ago, actually, but yeah.
But you get my point, is you don't instantly come...
Yeah.
Thinking...
I know.
Yeah, so maybe that's it.
Yeah, he has mentioned, so for the ID5, they were going to do like a GTI spec one, the GTX. That's been already announced, it's already on sale. But he did say, it says, we have iconic brand names, Golf and GTI, so it'll be created to let them die and step away. We will stick with the ID logic, but iconic model names will carry a name. So in the future, we could see an ID Golf for some. I'm not sure where it would fit in, but yeah, I thought that was a bit odd to read that this week. We're on the we're on the VW stuff. Skoda have now got a Enyaq IV VRS. So the VRS badge is like what GTI is to VW. There hasn't been any VRS cars for a long time. I mean, the Fabia had a VRS ages ago. That hasn't been available for a long time. The only one really is the Skoda Octavia. That's just been available to VRS for a long time. So they've now announced the very first electric VRS models. This is an SUV, like all electric cars are at the moment. So it's seven-seater, 300 horsepower, fast charging, 310 miles of range. It's got, you can get it in nice bright green with black accents, make it a little more sporty. But it's about 54 grand, 52. So yeah, that's quite interesting.
That's called the Enyaq.
Enyaq, yeah.
What's the name of one of the early computers? I need to check. I think I'm right on that one. I will double check that for the show notes and make a little note. Anyway.
Yeah. So in terms of electric sports cars, there hasn't been many. There's been the Tesla Roadster, which it's not even here yet. The only other one I can really think of is the MG announced a while ago they're going to be making an MG Cyberster, it's called. So it's going to be like a hark back to the original TF from the 90s. That isn't here yet. It's going to be launched next year. But Mazda has also joined. Mazda have been quite slow on EVs. The only one they've got is an MX-30. And from what I can understand from the automotive press, that it's not great. So they've been a bit far behind. But they've announced that they're going to be investing £9 billion into new electric vehicles. And in a promotional video, they had MX-5 that would probably be electric. So yeah, MX-5 for Mazda is probably one of their most famous models. When you think of a small, cheap sports car, you think of an MX-5. Well, I do anyway. So by 2028, Mazda have said they're going to be launching a lot of new cars. With all their models will have electric versions by 2028, which is pretty good going. Considering they've only got one so far. I mean, they've been left behind really by been left behind by MG, Kia, Hyundai. All three of those are left Mazda behind, unfortunately. So we spoke last month about the Volvo EX90. It was launched, so they've launched it now. It's not on sale yet, but it's like what we thought. It's a XC90 electric version, essentially, different name. 360 miles of range. That's a massive amount of range. A lot of power. Dual motors. Very tech heavy inside. 5G connectivity for all the self-driving stuff. Charging speeds are huge. 250 kilowatt hours. So you can charge. The battery pack is 111 kilowatt hours, and you can charge that pack in half an hour, which is mad.
Do many chargers even support that?
The only chargers I know are GridServe. So at Braintree, they've got that electric forecourt.
Oh, yeah.
In Essex. As far as I know, they're really the only ones that support that speed at the moment. They were very good to sort of adopt new technology, not just cheap out on stuff when they built that place. So, yeah, but it is expensive. It's probably one of the most expensive Volvos there has been ever. It's $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit interesting because it's going to run Google's OS for Volvo. So I think Ford have done it so far, and so is Polestar, which is obviously a sub brand. They have opted to not do stuff in house anymore and get Google to make the underlying OS for the car's infotainment.
That's interesting. Because on a very, sort of, if we speak about that on an aside, I genuinely think that's where Apple are heading.
Yeah.
With the car thing. I could see an Apple car, but I think it's more likely that they will be making software for EVs. I think the stuff that we've seen for the next gen of CarPlay that was previewed early this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, June. Yeah.
June at WWDC. That's the sort of thing we're talking about, where it's not just, here's your little CarPlay thing that's, or Google, is it Auto, Android Auto, we call it?
Yep, that's it.
It's not just confined to the infotainment system, it becomes the whole car OS.
Yeah, be quite good, because there's lots of bits of the car which aren't, some cars, even the expensive ones, their software systems aren't amazing, especially VW, which their software is not good at the moment, so. Next thing, it's not technically EV stuff, but it is quite UK road centric. There was a recent survey from a company called Yonder, which surveyed 12,000 UK drivers, and it was determined from that survey that 1 in 3 of them felt that cyclists should be banned from using roads.
Oh,
and instead using cycle paths instead. Also, 1 in 3 also felt that too much funding is being put into cycling infrastructure.
Okay, wow. Now this is an interesting one, because we've got me, who I would say very much pedestrian. I can ride a bike, just for reference. I don't ride a bike in Bournemouth, apart from maybe on my seafront, but even at the moment I don't on my seafront because it's full of sand on the promenade, literally because of all the storms we've had. It's just piled up. But I don't ride a bike in Bournemouth because it's not safe to do so, certainly for someone with my setup. But, if we actually had investment in proper... I'm torn on this one, because I see cyclists be morons on the road, and it's not all cyclists. But because of that, what you then find is cyclists are then on the pavements, zooming past you. I mean, let's not even get started on e-scooters, which... Yeah. I know I think we've talked about this before, but e-scooters, by law in this country, are illegal on public land. Caveat, unless you are the likes of Beryl, Lime, or whoever else, and you've done a deal with the local authorities. I don't quite understand how that works. No. But I think we do need... It's an interesting one. I would really value your take here as a motorist.
So where I live in the countryside, and there aren't many... there aren't any cycling lanes, really. There's only... In the nearest city to me, there's a few, but it's not very well looked after. They, especially on country roads, they do get in the way quite a bit. So I can see why this was brought up. So the survey itself was for a panorama show on BBC. So it's conducted before the show. So there's a show called Road Rage Cars versus Bikes. So it's a half-an-hour episode looking at the opinions between cyclists and road users. Also, from that survey, it said that 7 in 10 said that cyclists should need insurance to ride on the road. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's an interesting one. I can't, for example, take an electric scooter out, even on a promenade, because you need a driving license.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Now, I have to question, and this is it, if anyone from Beryl's listening, can you tell me how you're verifying that? Because I can guarantee you that I have seen youths, I'm sounding really old and grumpy here, who riding 2-up, which is dangerous. I've seen, and they definitely don't have driving licenses, or have mummy and daddy put driving license into app. I'm just going to make one statement here. Electric scooters can be incredibly dangerous. They are not toys. Stop putting your 3-year-old children on the front of a scooter as you're riding down the promenade. It is dangerous. You are going to kill someone. There was an accident at the Air Festival, not this last year, the year before, where a 4-year-old kid got knocked and had to be taken to hospital because of an e-scooter.
Jeez.
They are wonderful things, but yeah, I'm starting to come around to the whole. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant, but I don't know. I think should you have to have some sort of certification say yes, you are safe to ride on public roads? Yeah, because motorists do, drivers do.
Yeah,
and we could get into a whole rant about road safety and road codes. Like, please, folks, don't park across pedestrian crossings. If the traffic's, I think that's against the traffic code.
it is. Yeah.
Pretty sure it is. Yeah. A number of times I see it around where I live. I'm having a proper rant here. Alex, get me out of this rant, please, because we're going to be here all day if we're to.
So there was some other stuff. So the Vauxhall Astra has been. So there was supposed to be an electric version coming soon. There is some more information about it. It's going to come out in the summer. And it's going to have the same range as most of the Stellantis electric cars. So I think last month, Vauxhall announced a new Corsa, like an updated version of the Corsa, and it had a lot more range. So it looks like the group is using the same platform use the same platform on a lot of their cars now, like the Jeep Avenger, the Peugeot 408, all that sort of thing. So the Astra is going to have a 258-mile range when it launches in summer, which is actually quite good.
It's not bad, no.
It's a nice looking car. I saw one of the petrol ones out and about the other day. It's pretty decent. So Vauxhall is aiming to only sell pure EVs by 2028, which is ahead of the target, and it is using that new EMP2 platform that's using the 308, 408, and the Corsa. So price is expected to be from £28,500, which is pretty good, really.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of kit as standard. It's going to have 18-inch wheels, no exhaust pipes, obviously. Because I've noticed some electric cars actually have exhaust pipes, but fake ones, which is a bit odd. But anyway.
Do they vape? Do you put vape cartridges into a car? No.
It's good range, 54 kilowatt-hour battery. Fast. Again, most electric cars now are having this 100 kilowatt-hour DC charging, which gives you 30-minute from 0 to 80, which is fantastic, because if people are going to complain about one thing about buying one, it's the charging times. I'm seeing a lot of new cars having that fast charging as standard now, which is good. Yeah, both it's going to be available both as an estate and a hatchback, this is now the second electric car estate. The other one is the MG5. So this is now that was for a long time. That's the only car that's been available as an estate EV. So this is now going to be an estate. I'm glad to see that because I like estate cars. There's too many SUVs that are EVs, so that's good. But yeah, it's a little bit more heavy than the Corsa, which is expected. It's going to have a lot of tech inside. 2 10-inch screens. It's going to have that new visor design on the grille, which looks quite sleek. So available from June next year. So
nice. And again, Astra is somewhat of another one of us sort of UK iconic mid-sized car models. It does carry a certain recognition with it. Yeah.
I've seen less about lately because everyone's buying SUVs, but I think they must still sell because they're making a new one. So
absolutely.
We've got a few more bits and pieces. So this was announced shortly after we recorded the last episode of the show. So the Fiesta is being dropped from sale in next year. So in Europe and the UK, the Fiesta is still available. In the US, it was dropped ages ago. But it's being dropped from sale in favour of EVs going forward, basically. It's not popular. They're not selling enough. It's been in sale for nearly 50 years. They're going to prioritise EVs going forward. So to replace the Fiesta, there'll be a Puma EV. So the Puma is that little SUV. So they're going to have an electric version out very soon. But yeah, there was a lot of fanfare that hit the mainstream media very quickly when that was announced. So
I'm not surprised. I genuinely am not surprised because, my Fiesta, definitely part of my childhood. My mum had 3 Fiestas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bring back a lot of memories. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Fiesta was the Ford, I say equivalent, Ford equivalent of a Corsa-sized car. Is that?
Yep, that's it.
So, wow. Okay, well, bye-bye Fiesta. That's
yeah.
I have to be honest. I'm not sure I like this trend towards EV. Of course, I like the trend toward EV. Trend toward SUVs. I'm not a fan of SUVs.
No, not really. But oh well, it is what it is. Hopefully, more little tiny cars come out, because there is some, like the Honda E and the Corsa E, and there are still small cars that are being launched. They're expensive, but they are out there. So
yeah, let's hope that continues, as you said. Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah, well, we mentioned the MG Cyberster just a few minutes ago about the MX-5. That's being launched in April, that car. So
okay,
there's like a 3D rendering of version that's in the post that I'll link. But it is going to be. They released like a promo video, like a teaser image earlier in the summer. But they've announced now it's going to have a range of 500 miles. Well, I'm not sure how they're going to do that. That's quite amazing. So 500-mile range, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and it's gonna join their lineup of. They've got basically all EVs on sale now. So apart from the MG3, all of their cars available is EVs. They've got the MG ZS, the MG5 estate, and then the MG4 as well. The MG4 is like an ID3 competitor.
Okay.
They've got some good stuff. There was some talk a while ago about Chinese car companies that weren't going to compete, but they are really hitting home with new cars, new brands, and MG are one of them. So yeah, we've got one more bit of news. It's like hybrid news. So the Prius has been on sale in the UK for a very long time, 20 years, I think. The new one isn't going to come here because, again, we're buying too many EVs in this. We're buying too many SUVs in this country. So the 5th generation Prius was announced a few days ago. So 7 or 8 days ago. It's going to be available in 2023, but it will not come to the UK. It's only going to be available in Europe. So it said Toyota will not be bringing the all-new Prius to the UK due to demand issues. The company has said the UK is making a clear transition to SUVs.
That's a shame, because I like, jokes about the Prius and about who owns a Prius aside. I'd like that car. And, I mean, let's be honest, it has stocked the fleets of a lot of UK taxi companies. Oh,
yeah. Toyota has said they recognise that they are popular with fleets, and they've said that for going forward, the Corolla Touring estate is available as a plug-in hybrid. They said that will fill if people want a Toyota for their taxis and stuff, that will fill the gap. What's interesting, they have changed how it works. So the Prius has always been a traditional hybrid. So you don't charge it. You just, it sort of regen, and then it will charge itself a little bit.
So self-charging hybrid, basically, right?
Yeah. But now it's not going to be like that. It's going to be a plug-in hybrid instead.
Okay.
But they've done some cool stuff. It looks a lot better. The old one wasn't the best looking thing. But you mentioned earlier about solar panels on roofs. This one's got one. So the entire roof is a solar panel. And it says if you leave it just sitting there for a whole year, it will charge 777 miles for free off the sun if you just left it there for a year. So if you add that over the year, you'll get a bit of extra charge. Yeah,
that's a cool concept. Obviously, being plug-in hybrid means it can do that. Yeah, it's a shame that's not coming to the UK. That's a real shame. Yeah, stop buying SUVs, people. Let's have some actual nice, normal cars.
Yeah, that's everything, I think. There is a few bits and pieces, but that's everything, I think.
Do you have a test drive for this month?
I do. It's my last one that I've got in the queue, basically. This one I did. So this test drive I did in October last year. So it's a while ago. That's okay. Yeah, and that was for the Corsa E, that one.
Oh, okay. So ironically, we've been talking about that sort of size car. So yeah. So just before we kick into that, this is still on sale as it stands right now. You can still buy a Corsa E that you've driven.
Yeah, the one I drove, the new one's better than the one I drove. It's got more range. But yeah, it's pretty much the same car. Yeah. So the Corsa itself, it's one of those like unassuming cars. It doesn't look like an electric car. There's not much on it to show it's electric car, which is some people like that. Overall, I did like the ar. It had very good range and it was very quick as well. I mean, it was surprising. It even got floored out of a junction. It got wheel spin, which is quite funny, like quite a bit. So yeah, there's all that torque going to the front wheels. It's good fun. Again, good range. The one I drove had 220 miles of range. The new one's got 260. So they have quite a big difference in the range. Prices when I drove the car, it was from 25 grand with the government grant. However, as of June 2021, that's been scrapped. So the car costs from 30,000 now, which is quite a big big jump in price. A lot of good features. The base model has a smaller screen than the more expensive version. So it has CarPlay, Android Auto. There is DC charging. So I charged it when I borrowed it a couple of times. It has the fast charging. So that's quite nice. I would say the interior is not the best quality. I mean, Vauxhall's never been the most premium car company, but for the price you pay, it is it's not the most premium experience. For the money, you could get a lot better, I think. The car I drove a few months ago, you could get the Honda E. Again, less range, but a lot nicer interior. The most comparable thing I can compare it to is probably the ID3 for range. However, the ID3 is $8,000 more.
Right.
But the most comparable thing again is probably now the MG4, which I'm hoping to drive soon. That is such a good value car. It's got more range than this, 300 miles of range. It's $25,000. It's got a 7-year warranty on it. So, but the Corsa was the first electric car I drove, which is about a year ago. But yeah, it didn't feel the most premium vehicle. But it was very good fun to drive. It had a regen B mode, so you could knock it into B. That'd be like your brake, and you could knock it out of B and back into D. You could sort of manually control the regen, which was really cool.
That is a really handy feature, yeah.
It was a good car. Yeah, the seats are comfortable. It's got climate control, again, CarPlay and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there are better cars out there for the money, but it's
okay. So, and that seems to be a bit of a running theme with a lot of EV cars at the moment. There's a lot on the market, but correct me if I'm wrong, it's quite hard to choose because they're all quite expensive, and certainly the smaller stuff doesn't have the range.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like the Corsa petrol is like 19k, and the Corsa electric's 29 or 30. I don't understand where that 10 grand's going. It's mad.
We talked about that. Like, was it the Honda E? And it's still a valid point. Where, as you said, where is that going?
Yeah,
because I would love to know the production cost differences between a combustion engine and an EV platform. Surely an EV platform's got to be cheaper because there's less parts.
Yeah, there's less moving parts. There's less complicated things to build. So ages ago, I was watching a video from Robert Llewellyn. I can't for the life remember when it was or what it was, but he was mentioning the price gap between cars that have combustion and electric versions. I can't remember his outcome, but he was arguing why they're so expensive for the differences. I think it may be in the Corsa E, I think, because this came out 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
It's weird. The only thing I could think of is there's 2 or 3 things. It's the R&D that they've done. So there's that. There's the lack of servicing that they're going to get from petrol cars, because they don't really need servicing. They just need coolant, screen wash, and brake pads checking. That's literally it.
That's an interesting point. So do you think they're trying to recoup the servicing costs in the upfront?
Yeah, maybe. But they're only going to be able to get away with it for so long because as I said, the MG4, that's going to shake up all the Western companies, because I don't know how they've managed to make a car that, I haven't driven it yet, but in the reviews I've watched, that a car that is that good to drive, that well built, and with that warranty for that price. I don't know how they've done it. So, well, hopefully, by the time we do the next one, I would have driven it, but we shall see what it's like. But
awesome. So a little bit of a short one, because, the challenge I think you have, Alex, is obviously getting these cars, because you're not, you are, most of these are just you going to showrooms. What, just out of interest, I don't know if you want to tell the listeners, what have you, because I think you mentioned something about, you said, I'm hoping to drive the MG4. Have you got anything sort of lined up for our next, because I think our next episode, we might not have a test drive, something tells me.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure when I'm going to plan that one in. So it might be that we don't have one next month. So
that'd be interesting. But do you have anything? Do you have anything in the works? Do you have any cars that you're waiting on at the moment or hoping to drive?
So far, just the MG4. That's the one I'm hoping to drive, and potentially the Mustang Mach-E as well. And that's been out for a while, so maybe that one. So we shall see.
That could be interesting. Silly question. I mean, because again, this broadens our scope. Can you drive some of these vans? Not being a driver, I don't know the license situation. Are you allowed to drive like an electric van?
Yeah, most of the stuff. I know the Tesla stuff is 25 and over, which I am. the vans. So the bit with the vans is the weight. So if you want to go for a really heavy vehicle, you have to have a different license. But nearly all normal vans are not heavy enough to have that problem. So.
And we're not suggesting that Alex is going to be testing the Cybertruck anytime soon. Not the Cybertruck, the big one, the rig, the truck, the big...
Oh, the semi.
The semi.
Yeah.
The Tesla semi. We're not suggesting Alex is going to be test driving that anytime soon.
No.
I thought that would be an amazing episode. Yeah. So, I mean, to wrap up, thank you, as always, Alex, for contributing so much. It's genuinely great to have the interface, doing this with yourself as part of the interface, because it means that we know all the stories. We've got, from my point on production, it means I don't have to go and search links or images. I literally take the show notes, put the chapter links in, put the images in. By the way, that's one advantage now, folks, of our new feed. Turns out Substack was stripping all our chapters. And I think, I don't know if I showed Alex, but I actually carefully went in and put images into every single chapter in the production episodes. You never got to see them until now. So if you now look at the feed for Charging Status, or indeed the Crosswires or show feed, those chapters are restored and they will continue being there. But it means that, I've got images, the only thing I need to gripe at Alex about at some point is that all the images are WebP on his WordPress site. And I have to convert them to using Ferrite. Well, that's more of a Ferrite issue, I think. So we'll see version 3 fixes that. But the point it's going to make is, folks, we want this to be a show where you contribute. We are in the process of as Crossed Wires, getting our Discord ready for launch, and we will absolutely have a Charging Status /EV section in there. But do send us your feedback. podcast@chargingstatus.net. You can leave a comment on the post, and I believe Charging Status is now in Good Pods. We'll make sure that's the case if it isn't already, and you can start a discussion there. We'd love to hear from you. Any closing thoughts from yourself, Alex?
No, it's all good. There's a lot of stuff. Again, as I said at the start, I'm always a little bit hesitant that there's going to be enough news, but there's always way too much, which is hilarious. So I don't think we're going to see any slowdown in news anytime soon. There's always stuff happening. So.
Oh, a live update. Jay, who's in backstage, has confirmed, Charging Status is in Good Pods. We made sure that was done. So, yeah. So, but yeah, Good Pods is a great place to have a discussion, because being really honest, if you let's just be really honest about this, you start a discussion in Good Pods, it actually helps promote our shows. So if you do have Good Pods, even if you don't use it as your primary podcast player, it is a really good podcast player. But I know you've used Good Pods. I've seen stuff come from you for Crosswires.
Yeah.
And it is they're trying to do something cool. But yeah, we're in so many directories. Again, Jay really did a good job on that. And we got a lot of really cool stuff coming. So do check it out. Thank you so much. If you find our content valuable, please do head over to co-fi.com/crosswires and drop us a little tip. Any amount is appreciated. If you want to donate a Tesla, that'd be great. Alex would, I'm sure, appreciate that. Wait, no. Can we not? Hang on. Legal? Are we allowed to ask for Teslas? No? Okay. What do you mean we have to settle for a course at E? Okay, fine. All right, fine. Legal are telling me we can't accept a Tesla. Okay, fine. And I am the legal department, so I don't want to get myself in trouble. All right. On that bombshell. Thank you, everyone. Take care.